Welcome to Bracketology Bonanza, a Brash Plus exclusive. Brash Plus, the hottest content at the highest prices. I am joined with Daniel and Brandon. We've got some March Madness craziness to break down. Daniel is an expert in this field, so we had to bring him in. The guy is a wizard, as he is with most things. So Daniel, welcome to the show. Brandon, welcome. We're going to break down our brackets, talk about some upsets. Daniel has some fun facts for us we're going to get into. So let's just get right into it, guys. How are we doing tonight?
Good.
Doing great, my friends. Good to be here. Here we go again. You know, we tried this a couple years ago. It didn't work out too good. It was a complete and utter disaster, but it's good to get back in the swing of things. I think we finally figured out the perfect formula to make this last. Yes. And, of course, now people are texting me. I got to throw my phone over there. There it goes. No, we had to bring in Daniel because between the two of us, Josh, we're not big into watching a whole lot of college football throughout the regular season. Daniel, he's able to stay tuned, and he's the only one that actually has a dog in the fight with his Kentucky Wildcats, whereas I'm a Georgetown guy, and and I don't really see anybody else that I really give two craps about other than Georgetown. So,
I've got a team I'll be rooting hard for this year. James Madison, man, come on, It's right down the road, Brandon. You gotta root for the Dukes.
Right down the road, yeah, it's not too far from Bunker Hill.
I mean, it's probably an hour.
You're right. It's probably a smooth cruise down 81.
Yeah,
but I was real quick. I was shocked that the Mountaineers didn't have a part in this. I mean, from what I understood, early in the season, their basketball team looked like they had a chance, and they must have just completely fallen apart.
They fell flat on their face. Yeah.
So goodbye, Mountaineers.
What I heard is that a lot of Big East teams were snubbed this year, and I think are they Big Ten for basketball too? I don't know. It's confusing, but there were a lot of Big East snubs. So if they're still in the Big East for basketball, that's what I heard at least, is that there was some controversy behind the scenes.
As far as I know, the Big East, but what the hell do I know? Daniel will tell us. Daniel, welcome to the show, my friend. I understand you got a few things you want to get to, a few important matchups to look out for. You got some upsets on your list for those that are still filling out their brackets, because we just had the early games today that were the play-in games. They don't matter for much, let's be honest. But it's not going to change your opinion. Everybody's already filled out their bracket regardless. So, let's get right into it, my friend. What do you got for us, Daniel?
Well, I have a couple of fun facts to start off, and then I'll go to the brackets and let you know what I see as potential upsets and, where we go from here. This is probably going to be the most unpredictable NCAA tournament in a long time. I mean, there's really no clear-cut winner at this point. Everybody that was supposed to be coasting to the NCAA tournament, like Houston and Purdue and Kentucky, all lost in the first, in their initial rounds of their conference tournaments. So, and that leads me into my first fun fact: is no team that has ever won a national championship after losing its first game in their conference tournament. Wow. So that means my bracket is killed right now.
Nice.
But and then there's been no repeat champion since Florida in 2007. And there's one more interesting fact that I had is since 2002, 20 of the 21 national champions have finished in the top 25 in offense and defensive efficiency.
Okay.
Interesting. That to me, that's very interesting, because there are a couple teams and one that I will highlight that I cheer for, that the rankings are their defensive ranking is not what their offensive ranking is. But going to the bracket in the first round in the East, I really don't see any huge upsets. Only Duquesne beating BYU. That's my pick.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Josh
right.
is on board with that.
I'm on board.
But everything else is kind of status quo in the first round in the East. In the West, I have Grand Canyon beating St. Mary's. Number 12 versus number 5.
I think that makes all of us, right?
Yes.
Getting on the Grand Canyon bandwagon.
Dude, how could you not after last year?
Yeah.
We're all there.
And I also have New Mexico beating Clemson.
Same here, my friend.
Yeah.
Same here.
And then everything else, kind of like I said, status quo. Other than that, in the South, I have JMU beating Wisconsin.
Okay, beautiful.
And I also have Texas A&M beating Nebraska, which is really not an upset, but that's a 9 over an 8. And then pretty much everything else, like I said, it's kind of status quo. I mean, in the one matchup I'm watching in this bracket is Texas Tech NC State. I just don't know if NC State, after such a dramatic 5 games in 5 days, winning it in such dramatic fashion, first time they've won, since the 1980s, the ACC tournament. I don't know if they have enough left in the tank. We'll see. But yeah, like I said, pretty much everything status quo after that. Midwest, this is where it gets interesting. I have TCU upsetting Utah State, typical 9-8, so TCU's a 9. But I have number 12 McNeese beating Gonzaga.
Ooh, you're a McNeese guy.
I do like what McNeese did in the regular season.
And I have Samford beating Kansas, which would make
funny.
It would make a 12-13 matchup in the second round. Yep. So you'd guarantee at least one double-digit seed in the Sweet 16. And the reason I did that was both Gonzaga and Kansas have horrendous injury problems right now. Kansas's big center was out for the entire Big 12 tournament. He's very questionable for the NCAA tournament. Gonzaga is the walking wounded right now. They've got so many players hurt. I think it's just going to catch up to both of these teams. McNeese especially, I think, could be a serious contender for the Sweet 16 just based on how they play the game and their explosive offense, really tight defense. So watch out. McNeese is one to look out for. And I also picked whoever wins the UVA Colorado State game, I picked them to beat Texas. So
okay.
But other than that, everything, like I said, everything. But kind of like what we were discussing before this is after the first round, it kind of settles down a little bit. Not many upsets after that. Like the East, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 advancing to the Sweet 16. The same goes for the West. The South is where it changes. I have Florida beating Marquette. So it would be Kentucky, Florida in the Sweet 16. And I'll talk about Kentucky in a minute. And then in the Midwest, that's where it goes crazy. I have South Carolina beating Creighton, getting to the Sweet 16 to play Tennessee. And I have McNeese playing Purdue in the Sweet 16. But yeah, I mean, and then it just, like I said, and after that, we have, going through everything. The upsets, like I said, they kind of settle down after that. My final 4, I have UConn and North Carolina and Kentucky, Tennessee. Now, whether that happens, I don't know. And the reason I'm kind of on the fence, I of course, in my final game, I have UConn going back for a shot at a repeat title against Kentucky. But I right now, I have Kentucky winning. Now, am I going to change it? Probably, even though I'm a Kentucky fan. And let me tell you why. Kentucky has the second-ranked offense in the entire NCAA. So explosive offense. They score 90-plus points a game. Easy. They've got the talent. Reed Shepherd's a top is now the top number 1 pick in the NBA draft next year. They've got weapons. They got 3-point shooting. I mean, they have a huge arsenal in the offensive side of the ball. Where they have kind of their Achilles heel is defense. They rank 304th in defense.
Nice.
So remember that stat I just told you? Teams, 20 of the 21 national champions, 20 of the last 21, have been top 25 in both offense and defense. So you can throw Kentucky out if that's the case. But and this is a team, though, Kentucky, that has shown they can play with the big boys. They beat North Carolina earlier in the year. But they got blown out by Gonzaga at Kentucky, one time this year. And it's just, this team just hasn't found a real identity. And it's kind of like, okay, either you find your identity or you lose and you're out. But the team is capable of making a run if they can kind of shore up some things on the defensive side. The last 5 games or so of the season, they were actually pretty good statistically against the entire NCAA. They were actually top 25 in the last 5 games. But that it's going to be an interesting. It's just such an unpredictable tournament for me that I think you're going to see some craziness. I think you're going to see some team that's not supposed to be in the Elite Eight get in the Elite Eight. But I do think the Final Four is where it's going to really show that these programs that have been at the top all year are going to be contending for the national title. I don't see this San Diego State scenario like we had last year. But again, it's anybody's tournament. Anybody gets hot, anybody starts running. I mean, look at George Mason in 2006. Nobody saw that. Nobody saw that coming. They beat Michigan State. They beat North Carolina. They beat UConn. I mean, they tore through it. So it's going to be an interesting tournament. I mean, buckle up. It's going to be a crazy, crazy week.
I can't fucking wait, man.
So McNeese is your Cinderella squad of this year. Is that right? They're the lowest seed, making it the furthest.
And how far do you have them? Sweet 16 or Elite 8?
I think I just had them in the Sweet 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still quite impressive.
Yeah. I against my better judgment, I have Purdue going to the regional final, and I hesitate to pick Purdue based on last year.
Dude, I'm with you. But because I thought the same thing before I started filling it out. And as I was just clicking along, it was like I couldn't pick against them. And remember, the last time that a 16 seed beat a 1 seed, that same school went back to win the whole thing the next year.
Right.
That was UVA.
That's right. You got it right. Yeah.
So Purdue could be really sneaky this year just because of that. But yeah, I don't trust them at all. And they still found their way into my Final Four.
And Tennessee's another one, I think, because really Tennessee has one big shooter. Connect is his name, and he can average half of the team's offense on any given night. And the key to that is if you contain him, you basically can beat Tennessee. So the question is, can Tennessee find the supporting staff, the supporting players to help connect in the offensive production? Their defense is very good, but the offense is where there's a concern for Tennessee. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's going to be an incredible. I have in the second round James Madison playing Duke. That would be unbelievable if that actually happened, because I think JMU might actually give Duke a run for their money if it got there.
I think all three of us agree on that. I think we all have James Madison playing Duke in that second round. So.
Yeah, last year, Daniel, I remember our brackets were very similar. I think we had the same champion, the same, like 3 out of 4, same Final Four. And it sounds like we have a very similar run this year. Do you have Marquette in your Final Four?
No.
Okay. All right, good. So
I had Florida beating Marquette, so
okay, good. All right, so at least we've got some differences, because last year was almost not fun because it got to a certain point where it was like there's no way that either one of us can really separate. That's cool. So when you're doing your bracket, it sounds like you're very analytical because you have a lot of knowledge of the game, whereas Brandon and I just kind of go out on a limb and just just throw shit at the wall and hope it sticks. Do you have any like quirky, like any part of your process that's kind of quirky that you go, I really like the name of that school, or I like the way that sounds, this school over this school? Or do you truly just break it down? Yeah, do you just break it down like, oh, well, I got to look at the stats and the numbers and the matchups and all that stuff?
I look at stats a little bit, but there are some matchups I just look at it and I go, all right, and sometimes it's just it's simply by, comparing their win-loss record, but
okay.
But even doing that, I think, is not a great way to do it, because that's where a lot of the upsets happen if you start picking that way.
Yeah.
Because records are out the window once the tournament starts. Right. So, but yeah, sometimes I'll say, hey, look, that's a cool name. Like I actually did that with Grand Canyon. I was like, that's kind of a cool name for a school. I'm going to pick them to play Alabama.
Yeah. Nice.
Now
I like that.
So I love the Cinderella story. I mean, to me, that is the story year after year, right? There's always that team. Last year it was Florida Atlantic, right? So Josh, who's yours? Just let's just get this. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about those Cinderella teams. What's your lowest seed making it the furthest?
Well, I have a couple. The furthest I have anybody double digits is the Sweet 16. I've got James Madison in the Sweet 16. I have them beating Duke. And I also have South Dakota State, the 15 seed. I have them beating Drake and then beating Iowa State and then Drake. So I've got two kind of pretty long shots in the Sweet 16, but yeah, I realized after I was done. Oh wait, I have UAB also Sweet 16. So there's three double digits, because it is the year of the dragon. So I got to go with those Blazers, UAB. But yeah, I realized, kind of like what you said earlier, as I was getting into my Elite Eight and my Final Four, I was like, this is pretty chalky. And I didn't think that it would be a chalky year, but I have a lot of chaos on the outskirts of the bracket. And then as you get closer to the middle, it kind of levels out. So based on what you said, I actually feel pretty good. But yeah, I think South Dakota State, a 15 seed, getting to the Sweet 16 would be a pretty crazy story.
So Daniel, there's no hope for a double-digit seed making it to a Final Four this year. Is that?
I don't think this year. It just the top 10 teams look just. I mean, it's been kind of the same top 10 teams for like the last 2 months, and they're just jockeying for position at this point. But I mean, there's teams that I'm not even talking about, like Houston or Baylor. We've got those teams. Purdue, which, like I said, again, we talked a little bit about Purdue. Arizona's another one that people are picking a lot. North Carolina. North Carolina is an interesting team. I was actually going to pick North Carolina to make a pretty significant run. Actually, well, I pick them in the Final Four, but it's UConn has been probably the strongest at the top all year, and they're the defending champion. So, and I think they will be a very difficult team to dethrone. They've got the bench scoring. They've got the one of the top defenses in the country. They have balanced scoring. But like I said, the one team that I have a question mark about is Kentucky. I think they are fully capable with how much talent they have on that team. But again, the question mark is, can their defense catch up? And that's going to be interesting to find out. And I'm going to have until Thursday to decide whether I think Kentucky goes further or not. Right now I have them. I think they're fully capable of going all the way. Dick Vitale picks Kentucky to win it all.
Nice.
Surprisingly.
I trust that man.
I was like, I was a little surprised that he did that, but he thinks that they're a team built for March, and I think they are. But again, it's and the Oakland matchup scares me a little bit for them.
Really?
Because it is what they call thug basketball. It's street basketball.
It's racist.
No.
Dude, Cindy is going to be getting those emails.
No, here we go.
It is
Oakland's got
it is street ball at its
straight
finest.
out of Compton.
Well, like Cincinnati plays that type of ball. There's several teams in the tournament that play that type of ball, and it is a grinding, tough, physical game that I wonder if Kentucky's ready for something like that. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I got after hearing you, man, I'm not feeling too good about my bracket. I got 3 double-digit teams going to the Sweet 16.
Hey, it very well could happen. It's just one of those years you really can't. There's not early in the early rounds, especially. There's just not consistency there, like we've seen in the past, where there's matchups where nobody's picking the other side.
Yeah.
This time there's quite a few, except for the number one and number 2 seeds. But there's quite a few matchups that it's, right down the middle or it's a toss-up.
All right. So, Josh, who was your Cinderella again?
I mean, it would have to be South Dakota State going to the Sweet 16.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think they're the Jackrabbits, so I just thought that was an awesome name for a mascot.
It is an awesome name, yeah.
So I went with it. Plus, Iowa State, kind of like the North Carolina State theory, like they went on a big run and had an emotional finish in their conference final, and I just think that they're going to be a little bit gassed.
Yeah, I went a little bit crazy then. As I mentioned, I have 3 double digits in the Sweet 16.
I do too.
Drake, New Mexico, and Samford.
Yeah.
And then one of those actually making it as far as the Elite 8, which is insane. But
double digit in the Elite 8 is it's crazy, but we've definitely seen crazier things happen. Who's your Elite 8, Cinderella? Is it Samford?
It's Samford. I'm just really, for whatever reason, Samford's, just clicking with me. I just have a feeling that they could be that darling team this year that everyone's pulling for, and I have them upsetting number 1 seed Purdue and moving forward to the Elite 8, where they meet Creighton to make it to the Final Four. But should we just go through our Final Fours then, Josh, since sure. Daniel already did so?
Yeah, we'll have Daniel analyze our Final Fours and pick them apart for us real quick.
Yeah.
All right.
What we did wrong.
Yeah. All right. So my Final Four, I've got UConn versus Alabama, and then I've got Marquette versus Purdue.
And I got...
Yeah.
No, go, please.
No, go.
Daniel, please.
No, I was going to say.
Rip it to shreds.
No,
Daniel.
I am not going to rip it to shreds because that is very plausible. I mean, it is very possible that could be it. Yeah.
I got UConn, Arizona, and Duke versus Creighton. Daniel does not like that one bit.
Throw Creighton out and you'll be fine.
1, 2, 3, and a 4 is how I did it.
That's good, actually. Yeah. I've seen it.
It could be crazier, right?
You could be picking Howard to go to final.
Now my final is Arizona Duke.
Yeah, man. I could see that. Yeah. But I don't know. Duke, I've watched Duke, lose to some really questionable teams this year. And it's kind of where, I wanted to pick Duke to go further, but there were just a couple of teams that they struggled against. And, they lost to NC State in the ACC tournament. So,
I want them to lose immediately every single year. And I'm done picking.
I'm with you.
I'm just going to go with it now, and maybe if I pick them, they'll do bad. That's the way I look at it. What's your
We love emotional hedges here.
Who you got in the final, Josh?
UConn and Marquette.
Ooh, okay.
And I have Marquette taking them down.
Nice.
I don't know why they just spoke
Marquette's first title or
no, they won.
No, that was
when we were in high school.
Al McGuire won a title back in the I believe it's the 70s is when he did that.
Long ago. All right.
Off the
I got Arizona Duke. I got just like Daniel. I also have the Wildcats holding that trophy, but I got the Arizona Wildcats doing it in Glendale, Arizona, which I just now found out the finals in Glendale, Arizona. That's weird. I honestly did not know that going into this. I just found that out. So that would be quite fitting. For the first time since 1997, the Arizona Wildcats win it all and cut that goddamn net. Last time they did was against the other Wildcats in Kentucky in 1997.
I did see a stat. I think that was the last time that any team past like the Mississippi, west of the Mississippi River has won it. Like we're on like this crazy 25-year stretch. Yeah, of like Eastern time zone teams winning the whole thing.
So Marquette won in 1977.
Okay. But they went on a run. I feel like when we were in high school, they had a really good program.
Oh yeah, they did.
And they had Dwayne Wade. Led them to a Final Four, I think.
Yeah, Kentucky had a couple of years where they would always play Marquette, and they couldn't beat them. So I remember those. That was in the late 90s, I think.
Well, there you have it. Daniel, anything else you want to add before we're going to cut you loose and we're going to get to our brash bracket? But, any other points you wanted to throw out there?
I would watch the Duke Vermont matchup in the first round.
I will. I'm a big Vermont fan. I was wearing my Vermont jersey for that one.
The Catamounts are no joke, man. I'm telling you.
I was very close to picking them. I
almost did too. But I do think we are going to see quite a few upsets both days, Thursday and Friday, going into the weekend. But like I said, I think this is a tournament where you're going to see a lot of craziness and chaos in the first two rounds.
A lot of madness, if you will.
Madness, if you will. Yeah.
Don't say that.
I don't know what do you want to call it? Hoopla,
March hoopla.
But it's going to be. I mean, I love this time of year. I just got YouTube TV. They have a channel where you can watch 4 games at once. I love it.
Damn time.
I love it. I was like, where have you been?
Yeah. You need the fancy TVs for that.
It's going to be fun though. It always is. I don't think the NCAA needs to expand it any further. I think that's a ludicrous, ridiculous thing.
Absolutely. I will never fill out a bracket again if they expand it any further.
That is an absolute cash grab for the NCAA.
I didn't even know they were talking about it.
Yes.
Oh no.
It's something like 86 teams or something crazy.
Please, and I'm like,
the brash bracket will die when that happens.
I'm like, you might as well.
This might be the last brash bracketology. What did you call it, Josh?
Bonanza.
This might be the last one.
I don't think there's enough support in the major conferences for that to happen. You'd have to put a lot of small schools in the tournament in order to make that happen. And I think the NCAA, unfortunately, is heading towards where you're going to have the Power 5 conferences and then you're going to have the small schools kind of separate themselves out and have their own leagues. Eventually that will happen, I think, because the money is just too good in the Power Five. But and if college football doesn't kill it first,
Well, there's always a chance of that.
They're already talking about expanding it even further on there, and I'm like, geez, 14 teams, really?
Maybe we'll just start college football in March. I know, damn
right?
It! There goes March Madness.
The playoffs will be as long as the regular season. I mean, year-round football. There we go.
Hey, well, I'm me and Josh are big fans of that concept, but. All right, well, cool, brother. Hey, it was good having you on.
Hey, good to be here, guys.
Thanks for getting us. Thanks for making me realize that my bracket's a piece of shit. Yep. And at least you have the Wildcats winning, just not the Wildcats that I picked. But
hey, go Wildcats.
Yeah, go Wildcats regardless. And just to recap real quick, UConn, the defending champs, going down against the Kentucky Wildcats. In the final, what's your final total points scored in that game?
I think I had a total, I think it was like 105, 110,
Ooh,
somewhere in that range.
Scoring.
Low scoring.
Yeah. No, I mean, the last year's I think was surprisingly low. So
yeah.
I'm always thinking each team's like in the 70s and 80s. That's how I imagine college basketball.
Yeah.
What do I know? But
yeah.
All right, well, cool, brother. Hey, well, thanks again. We'll catch you. We'll catch up. We will recap this. We'll see. One of us has to hit a perfect bracket, right?
Yeah.
So
the odds are in our favor.
Warren Buffett is giving $1 billion.
I looked it up. I couldn't find it.
Oh, you couldn't find it?
I couldn't find it.
He's still doing it. He's still doing it. That was
just last year. He's not doing it this year.
I think he's
Send
still
me the link.
doing
Send
it.
me the
I'll
link.
send you the link.
That
but
cheapskate.
$1 billion to the winner. $1 billion. So.
All right. Cool, brother.
Well, all right, Daniel.
We'll talk to you soon. All right.
See ya.
And we are back. Big thank you to Daniel. That guy is so knowledgeable. He really knows his shit. He puts us to shame every time he joins the show. And yet we keep bringing him on, even though he makes us look terrible.
He does.
But Daniel, thank you so much for coming on. And
well prepared as always.
Yeah, exposing our lack of knowledge. But anyway, every year we have a tradition here at BRASH Sports where Brandon and I fill out a bracket. We have our two separate brackets. We don't talk about them really. We don't know who the other person is picking. And then we merge them together by way of coin flips, where if we have a disagreement on a matchup, we flip a coin, heads for the higher seed. Higher seed moves on, tails, lower seed moves on, and we create the Brash bracket out of that. Now, we tried to record it, was it 2 years ago, I think? And it was just an absolute...
It was really bad. It was
a disaster. So we're trying to get better at it, but we figured for this year's sake, we'll just do it ahead of the recording and then break down the bracket afterwards. I was pleasantly surprised how it turned out. We actually have a legit bracket this year.
It seems good this year, yeah.
Normally, it just, when you're flipping coins, anything can happen, and you end up having some crazy shit go down. I think one year we had like an 11 seed in the final four. Someone on Twitter said that our bracket was ass. They said, "This shit is ass." That was an exact quote. By the very
can't say that this year. Can't say it actually turned out pretty good this year.
I think it turned out like better than mine.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, Brandon, because you have the bracket. I don't even think I can.
It's in the app, and you can pull it up by the group. It should be.
No, I can't. I can't see it yet.
All right, whatever.
It won't let me look at it until the game starts.
I'll have to add it then to the group separately, but. Okay, so we're just gonna hop right into the Elite Eight. We're not gonna get through every single goddamn.
We won't bore you with the early games.
No, but we're gonna start off with the East, where we have.
Before we do that, let me just say real quick, we actually were in agreement on a way more than usual too.
Yeah,
which
surprising
is
amount.
Again why I think that it didn't turn out just.
You're right.
Just a crazy fucking hot mess of a bracket. So there weren't as many coin flips as past years. So yeah, sorry, go ahead, lead us into the Elite Eight. Let's see how our method turned out, and let's see if the Brash bracket outperforms us, because if it does, then I think we just need to start submitting this like to Warren Buffett and everything.
The official Brash Bracket Elite 8. We'll start off with the East, where we have UConn meeting BYU, one of the blackest teams versus one of the whitest teams there in the East. In the West, we have Alabama and Arizona. That makes a lot of sense. 4 seed and a 2 seed. The South, we have Nebraska and Marquette. And in the Midwest, we have Purdue and Creighton. Now,
which is just not that crazy.
It really isn't. It's not that bad at all. We do have a UConn knocking off BYU in the East and headed to the Final Four. We have Arizona knocking off Alabama, making it to the Final Four. We have Marquette knocking off Nebraska, making their trip to the Final Four. And finally, we have Purdue knocking off number 3 seed Creighton and making it to the Final Four. So we have a 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 in our Final Four. And I swear this was done by coin flip. Okay. It just worked out this way. So it's extra chalky in our Brash official Final Four, where we have UConn meeting Arizona, on the other side Marquette and Purdue. Our final has UConn beating the Arizona Wildcats, the defending champs, making their way to the national championship game once again, and Purdue making it to the national championship game after beating Marquette. So 2 number 1 seeds in the final in Glendale, Arizona. This would be an awesome matchup. I would be polling heavily for Purdue at this point, because I think Purdue is due. And, honestly, going into it, early in the season when I was just trying as hard as I could to follow college basketball, I like Purdue. I really think it would be awesome if they could pull it off and those Boilermakers get their first championship. But the Brash Bracket said, yeah, go sit over there and fuck yourself, because we have UConn, the defending champs, winning yet again, beating Purdue. A total points scored at 147. So there you have it, Josh. That's your Brash Bracket. I mean, yes, we could then, go, into detail about all the upsets, leading up to it. It really doesn't matter, but we will have it posted. We'll post it so everyone can see it. We'll put it at the end of the show, so everyone can get a good, hard look at the Brash Bracket.
Yeah, and we'll tweet it out. We always tweet it out, right?
Nobody pays attention to it, but we'll tweet it.
All 7 of our followers will be very excited.
That gives that negative comment. That's what we're looking for.
Dude, he's like, this shit is not ass. We're like, all right, that guy came around. Yeah, it's crazy that 3 out of the 4 in the Final Four matches mine somehow. And 2 number 1 seeds facing off and the defending champ winning. Like, that just... It's like fate took over and was like, no, you guys have embarrassed the system long enough. You're going to have a real legitimate shot this year. And you watch, though. UConn's going to lose to fucking Stetson round 1 or something. You know what I mean? Because
put all your money on Stetson.
Hammer Stetson.
Dude, hammer Stetson now. Everything in your bank account, put it on Stetson. You will not be disappointed. Stetson does it. In a way, I'm almost rooting for Stetson at this point. But yeah, I mean, I have 2 out of the 4 in the Brash Final Four. I have Duke Creighton on the other side of things. And, it just worked out that way. I had a really weird way of putting my bracket together this year. So it just Duke Creighton. And then I just, between the 4, I had Arizona Duke. It just sounded like a good game. And again, I had no idea that this final was going to be played in Arizona, but I already had Wildcats on the brain. And I felt like this is the Arizona Wildcats year to get it done. And I have Arizona Wildcats beating Duke. But yeah, no, the Brash bracket saw it differently. And you know, I actually like the Brash bracket more than my own. So there's that.
Yeah, dude. If the Brash bracket beats our brackets, then we just have to do it from now on.
Yeah,
That's one we submit to all the things to make money.
We're gonna keep doing it. We're gonna keep doing it. So
right.
Yeah, and there you have it. We'll have a nice screenshot of it at the end of the episode. I'll make sure I add it to the group, Josh, so you can keep tabs on it. I know it looks like maybe I added it to a separate group.
Well, even if
accidentally, but
I haven't even looked, but what I'm saying is even if it was in the group, until the games start, I can't see anything. So it wouldn't even make a difference if it was.
So that's it, buddy. That is it. That's all we got. That's your Brash Bracketology
Bonanza.
Bonanza. What's with the word bonanza? This isn't sticking with me. But hey, if we do damn good this year, then bonanza is the word. That's gonna be the word on the brain. I won't be able to stop thinking about it.
Yep.
I'll wake up in the middle of the night and be like, bonanza, you know.
Yeah, much like everything thrown together at the very last second. That was a very last second decision to throw that in there.
Hey, well, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us for this bracketology bonanza, because it was quite a bonanza, and hope everyone's fired up, because I know we are, and it's gonna be fun regardless. I love it. I love the upsets. Go Samford! I am all in on the Samford Bulldogs, dude. I gotta.
Stetson.
Yeah. No, don't go Stetson. Although if Stetson wins, that would be fucking amazing.
It would be fucking hilarious.
I'd be pulling for Stetson the whole way, but I just feel like Samford will be your Cinderella story when all is said and done. That is the Cinderella story this year.
You are jinxing it so hard, but
I really am. Everybody that plays for Samford's like, oh God, we just had to get that tingle. I got a feeling we're gonna lose in the first game. What? Yeah, we have no chance against Kansas.
All right, man. Great bracket. Can't wait, dude. Can't wait. Best 4 days in sports.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go. All right.